It was 3:10 a.m. when Richard Sterling arrived home from his business trip to Tokyo, a day earlier than planned. He quietly slipped into the house, careful not to wake anyone, but then he heard water running. He followed the sound, and when he reached the laundry room and saw what his 5-year-old daughter Lily was doing there, his blood ran cold. She was standing on a little step stool, washing clothes in the utility sink. Her tiny hands were red and swollen, her head drooping, forward every few seconds, and she didn't even notice he was there. She just kept scrubbing, 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 her eyes half closed. Richard stood frozen in the doorway, watching his baby girl, his little Lily, 5 years old, washing clothes at 3 in the morning, and he knew, in that moment, that he had failed as a father. But let's rewind, back to the beginning. Because to understand how Richard Sterling, a successful 41-year-old CEO, reached this moment of absolute horror, we need to go back 11 months to the day that changed everything. Sarah Sterling died on a Tuesday in May, ovarian cancer, 14 months from diagnosis to the end. Richard cared for her as best he could between business trips. Lily was 4 years old when she lost her mother, too young to understand that mommy wasn't coming back. The first 3 months were hell. Richard hired a full-time nanny. He took 6 weeks of leave, but his company, Sterling International Trading, couldn't stop. Contracts in Shanghai, suppliers in Hamburg, clients in Mexico City, the world kept spinning, even though his had been destroyed. And it was on one of those trips, 3 months after Sarah's death, at the grand opening of a luxury boutique in Mexico City, that Richard met Brittany Smith, 35 years old, the boutique manager, elegant, sophisticated, with a smile that lit up the room. She asked if he needed help choosing a gift. Richard said it was for his daughter. She asked how old she was, and he said 5. She said she had the perfect dress. They talked for 40 minutes. Brittany was charming, interested, asking about Lily with genuine interest. Or so it seemed. Richard, in his grief and loneliness, saw someone who cared, someone who understood. He asked for her number. She gave it to him with a smile. Over the next 2 months, they talked every day. Brittany would text, asking about Lily, how she was adjusting, if she was eating well, if she was sleeping well. Richard felt like he'd finally found someone who understood how hard it was to be a single dad. On his 3rd trip to Mexico City, they had dinner together. Brittany wore a blue dress that matched her eyes. She talked about her own difficult childhood, absent father, working mother. She knew what it was like to grow up without a complete parental figure. She never wanted any child to go through that. Richard fell hard. 5 months after meeting her, he proposed. Sarah had been gone for 8 months. Richard's family said it was too soon. His sister Claire begged him to wait. But Richard was convinced. Lily needed a mother figure. He needed support. Brittany was perfect. They married in a small ceremony in November. Brittany moved into Richard's house on the outskirts of Scottsdale, a 5,400 square foot mansion with gardens, a pool, and a separate service area. The first few weeks were normal. Brittany was attentive to Lily, buying her pretty and clothes, taking her to the park. Richard thought he'd made the right decision, but Brittany was smart, very smart. She knew Richard traveled 2 or 3 times a month, trips lasting 4 to 7 days, and during those trips, no one supervised what happened in the house. The nanny only came from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. The nights and early mornings were Brittany's territory, and it was on Richard's first trip after the wedding that things started to change. Richard left for Shanghai for 5 days. Brittany started with small things. She told Lily that she had to keep her room perfectly clean, that she couldn't make noise after 8 p.m., that she had to eat everything on her plate without complaining. Lily, at 4.5 years old, tried to obey, but she was a child. Sometimes she forgot to put a toy away. Sometimes she made noise while playing. Sometimes she didn't want to finish her vegetables. And Brittany punished her, not with hitting, that would leave marks, with something more cruel. She made her stand in a corner for hours. She took away her favorite toys. She told her that if she didn't obey, Daddy would be sad. And Daddy was already very sad because Mommy was gone. Lily, terrified of making Daddy sadder, started to obey everything. On the second trip, 3 weeks later, Brittany escalated. She told Lily that she had to learn to be more independent, that big girls did things for themselves, that she had to make her bed perfectly every morning, fold her clothes, put her shoes in a straight line. Lily tried, her little hands struggling with the sheets. Sometimes she did it right, sometimes she didn't. When she didn't do it right, Brittany woke her up at 5 a.m. to do it again, until it was perfect, and she'd whisper, "Don't tell Daddy. He doesn't need to know you can't do simple things. You disappoint him." Lily never told Daddy. On the third trip in January, 2 months after the wedding, Brittany took the next step. She told Lily that the housekeeper shouldn't wash Lily's clothes, that Lily was old enough to wash her own clothes. Lily was 4.5 years old. Brittany showed her how to fill the laundry sink, how to scrub with soap, how to rinse. Lily could barely reach the sink even standing on the step stool. Her hands could barely hold the wet clothes, but she did it, because Brittany told her, if you don't do it, the housekeeper will think you're a spoiled brat, and she'll tell your Daddy, and he'll be disappointed in you. Lily washed her clothes. It took her 2 hours. Her hands were wrinkled and red from the cold water and the soap. Brittany smiled and said, "Good job. This is what good girls do." And here's the part that broke Lily. Brittany gave her a hug after. She said, "I'm proud of you. Your daddy would be proud." Lily, desperate for approval after losing her mother, clung to those words. She did everything Brittany asked. On the fourth trip in February, Brittany added more clothes, not just Lily's clothes, also the towels, the sheets from her bed, Brittany's clothes. Lily spent 3 or 4 hours after school washing clothes. The nanny didn't work in the service area, so she never saw it. Brittany supervised, making sure Lily did everything right. And here is where Brittany showed her true cruelty. She started waking Lily up in the early morning. 5 a.m. at first. She'd say, "You have to finish before the housekeeper gets here at 8. You don't want her to see you doing this? She'll think you're strange." Lily, just 5 years old, would wake up at 5 a.m. and do laundry for 2 hours. Before going to school, she'd arrive at school exhausted. Her teacher noticed she kept falling asleep in class. She sent a note to Richard. Brittany intercepted the note and told Richard that Lily just needed to go to bed earlier. Richard, trusting his wife, told Lily she had to be in bed by 8 p.m. Lily would go to bed at 8 p.m., but Brittany would wake her up at 5 a.m. to do laundry, and no one knew. On the 5th trip, in March, Brittany changed the schedule again. Now she was waking Lily up at 4 a.m. More laundry to do, more time needed. Lily was only sleeping 8 hours, but interrupted, devastated from exhaustion. Her hands started to show signs: dry skin, cracks in her palms, nails broken from scrubbing wet clothes. Richard noticed it one weekend. He took Lily's hands in his and asked, "Princess, what happened to your hands?" Brittany intervened before Lily could answer. "Oh, she was just playing in the garden. You know how she is. I put cream on them." Richard nodded and kissed Lily's hands. He didn't investigate further. That was his mistake, because after that trip, Brittany became bolder, more cruel, more confident that she would never be caught. On the 6th trip, in April, 5 months after the wedding, Brittany set the final schedule. 3 a.m., she'd wake Lily up at 3 in the morning. She'd give her a pile of clothes, sheets, towels, dresses, pants, underwear, everything. Lily, at 5 years old, would do laundry for 3 hours, from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. Then she'd sleep for 1 more hour before the nanny arrived at 7:30 to get her ready for school. Her hands were shattered, red, swollen, blistered on her palms from so much scrubbing. Her posture changed. She started to hunch over, her shoulders always tense from carrying wet clothes that weighed more than she did. Her eyes had deep, dark, permanent, dark circles. But the worst part wasn't the physical damage. It was the damage you couldn't see. Brittany had built a perfect system of psychological control. Every time Lily finished washing, Brittany would say, "Good job. Your dad would be so proud if he knew how responsible you are." And then she'd add, "But don't tell him. This is our special secret. If you tell him, he'll think you're bragging, and he doesn't like girls who brag. Or worse, if you tell him, he's going to think I'm not taking good care of you, and he might send me away, and then you'll be all alone, like when your mom left." Lily was terrified of being alone again, so she never said anything. She kept the secret for 6 months, until that night, the night of April 25th. Richard was in Tokyo, a 6-day trip to close a deal with an electronics manufacturer. The trip was scheduled to end on April 26th, but on the 25th in the afternoon, Tokyo time, the CEO of the manufacturer had a family emergency. He cancelled the final meeting. Richard took a flight that same night. He decided to surprise Brittany and Lily by coming home a day earlier. He arrived in Scottsdale at 2:45 a.m. on April 26th. He took an Uber from the airport. He got to his house. At 3:10 a.m., he quietly entered with his key. The house was dark, silent. He left his suitcase in the entryway. He was going to go straight up to his bedroom. But then he heard something. Running water. He stopped in the hallway. He listened. The sound was coming from the laundry room at the back of the house. His first thought was that a pipe had burst. He went to investigate. He walked down the dark hallway. The laundry room door was ajar. Light was coming through the crack. He opened the door, and he saw Lily, his baby, his little 5-year-old, standing on a step stool in front of the laundry tub, wearing a wet, wrinkled nightgown. Her hair stuck to her forehead with sweat, her hands submerged in soapy water, scrubbing a sheet that was bigger than she was. Her head kept falling forward, jerking back up, falling again. She was asleep, standing up, but her hands kept moving, scrubbing, 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 mechanically, like a robot. Richard couldn't move, he couldn't breathe, he couldn't process what he was seeing. His daughter, his baby, at 3 in the morning, doing laundry, almost unconscious from exhaustion. He stood there for a full 2 minutes, just watching, trying to understand. And then Lily dropped the sheet into the water. Her head fell completely forward, her knees buckled. Richard reacted. He ran towards her just as she started to fall off the step stool. He caught her. She weighed nothing, absolutely nothing. Had she been losing weight? Lily opened her eyes slowly. She saw her father, and instead of joy or surprise, her reaction was pure terror. She stiffened in his arms and whispered in a broken voice, "No, no, no, Daddy, please don't tell Brittany, please, please. She said I have to finish. Please don't tell her, please." And she started to cry, a silent, desperate, terrified cry. Richard felt his heart break in two. He carried her out of the laundry room. She was trembling in his arms. She kept whispering, "I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm sorry. I'm going to finish. I promise. Please don't tell her." Richard took her to her room, Lily's room. He laid her on her bed. She was soaking wet, her nightgown wet, her hands wet, leaving water stains on the sheets. Richard took off her wet nightgown with trembling hands, and when he saw his daughter's body under the lamplight, he had to stifle a scream. Visible ribs, bony shoulders, arms too thin. How hadn't he noticed? How? He put on a dry pair of pajamas. Lily was still crying, whispering, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Richard hugged her and said in a broken voice, "No, my love. You didn't do anything wrong. Nothing. Sleep now. Daddy's here. Nobody's going to hurt you." Lily clung to him as if he was going to disappear, and in less than 30 seconds, she fell asleep, exhausted beyond what a 5-year-old should ever be. Richard gently laid her down. He brushed the hair from her forehead, and then he saw her hands clearly under the light. Red, swollen, with cracks in her palms, blisters on her fingers, split nails, skin peeling. They were the hands of someone who had been scrubbing clothes for hours, for days, for weeks. Richard left Lily's room silently. He closed the door and leaned against the hallway wall. His mind was racing, trying to understand, trying to process it all. How long had this been going on? Weeks? Months? How could he have missed it? Where was Brittany while all of this was happening? That last question hit him like a ton of bricks. Brittany. Richard looked towards the end of the hallway, towards the master bedroom, where his wife was sleeping, completely oblivious to the fact that he was back. Or maybe she did know. Maybe she knew exactly what was going on. Richard walked slowly back towards Lily's room. He wasn't going to wake Brittany just yet. First, he needed to understand. He entered Lily's room and flipped on the light. She didn't move. Sound asleep. Richard started to search. He didn't know for what exactly, but he knew there had to be something. He checked the closet. Clothes hanging. Shoes lined up perfectly. Too perfectly for a 5-year-old. He checked the drawers. Clothes folded with military precision. Again, too perfect. He checked under the bed, and he found something. A shoebox, hidden in the farthest corner. He pulled it out, opened it up, and inside was a notebook. Richard pulled it out with trembling hands. He opened to the first page, and he read, Lily's chores, written in Brittany's handwriting. A list, a long list. Handwritten, Monday, during Daddy's trip, 3 a.m. Wake, up 3:06 a.m. Laundry, all sheets, bath towels, Brittany's clothes. 6:30 a.m. Hang laundry on drying rack, 6:30, 7 a.m. Sleep, 7:30 a.m. Breakfast with nanny, 8:30 a.m. School, 3 p.m. Return from school, 3:30, 5 p.m. Additional laundry, clothes from the previous day. 5 to 5:30 p.m. Fold dry laundry, 6 p.m. Dinner, 8 p.m. Sleep, Tuesday. During Daddy's trip, almost identical list. Wednesday, during Daddy's trip, almost identical list. Every single day of every trip Richard took, documented, written down, planned, and at the end of the list, a note. Important. If you don't finish before 6 a.m., no breakfast. If you tell Daddy, he'll be sad, and it will be your fault. If you tell the nanny, she'll think you're weird. This is our special secret. Good girls obey without complaining. Richard read those words once and again, and something inside him snapped. It wasn't just the physical labor. It wasn't just the 3 a.m. wake-up call. It wasn't just the ruined hands. It was the manipulation, the psychological control, the calculated cruelty, the use of Sarah's death to control Lily. Brittany had turned his daughter into a slave, and she had documented it. Richard closed the notebook, his hands trembling with rage. He looked at Lily sleeping, so small, so fragile, so broken. And he made a decision. He wasn't going to confront Brittany now. He wasn't going to yell at her. He wasn't going to give her the chance to lie or manipulate or escape. He was going to do this right. Silently, he left Lily's room. He went downstairs. He went to his home office. He turned on his computer. He opened the house security system. His house had cameras, mostly exterior, for security, but there was one in the garage and one in the laundry room, installed when they built the house, to monitor possible theft by service personnel. Richard had never checked them. He trusted his staff. But now he opened the archive, and he started to review. He went to April 20th, 5 days ago, when he had been in Tokyo. He fast-forwarded to 3 a.m., and he saw it, Brittany entering Lily's room at 2:55 a.m., waking her up, Lily getting out of bed, half asleep. Brittany guiding her towards the laundry room. Richard switched to the laundry room camera, and he saw Lily stepping up to the step stool, Brittany showing her the pile of clothes, Brittany giving her instructions, then Brittany leaving, Lily doing laundry alone for 3 hours. Richard checked another day. April 18th, the same thing. April 15th, the same thing. He went back further. April 10th, April 5th, April 1st. Every time he had been traveling, every damn time, Lily doing laundry at 3 a.m. and Brittany supervising, sometimes staying to make sure Lily didn't stop, other times just waking her up and leaving her alone. Richard counted, in the past 2 months, he'd been traveling 4 times, 18 days total, 18 nights, Lily doing laundry at 3 a.m. How many more before that? When had this started? Richard kept going back. March, February, January. He found the first time January 15th, 3.5 months ago, 2 months after the wedding. Lily was 4.5 years old then. And from that day on, every time Richard travelled, Brittany woke Lily up between 3 and 5 a.m. to do housework. At first it was just tidying up and then cleaning, then laundry, a deliberate progression, calculated, cruel. Richard saved all the videos. He downloaded them to a USB drive. Evidence. Then he opened his phone. He took pictures of Lily's hands while she slept, of the chore notebook, of Lily sleeping, exhausted, at 4 a.m. Evidence. He searched Lily's closet again. In the back, hidden behind boxes, he found 4 pairs of pajamas. Wet. Stored there. Smelling of mildew. Lily had hidden them so Brittany wouldn't get angry about her wetting the bed. But it wasn't urine. It was water from the utility sink. From the work. Richard took the pajamas. More evidence. Then he did something he never thought he would do. He opened Brittany's phone. She had left it charging in the living room. No password. She trusted that Richard would never check it. Mistake. Richard opened her messages, and he found something that turned his stomach. A group chat with 3 of Brittany's friends. Brittany had been sending messages complaining about Lily. April 22nd, 11 p.m. Brittany. Ugh, the kid didn't finish the laundry on time today. Had to wake her up at 2 a.m. so she'd finish before Richard gets home tomorrow. Friend 1. LOL, so dramatic. Just use the washing machine. Brittany. Nope, she needs to learn. Her mum spoiled her rotten. Now I have to fix it. Friend 2. Girl, don't be so hard on her. She's 5 years old. Brittany. Exactly. At 5, I was already helping my mum out. These rich kids don't know what it's like to work. April 18th, 10 p.m. Brittany. Richard gets back in 2 days. The brat almost fell asleep at school again. Her teacher asked if she was sick. Ha 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 ha. Friend 1. Oh no, you're gonna get caught. Brittany. Please. Richard doesn't notice anything. He's so busy with his company I could do whatever I want. April 15th, 9 p.m. Brittany. Honestly, I don't know why I married. A guy with a kid. I should have looked for one without baggage. Friend 3. The money, girl, the money. Brittany. True, haha. Well, at least the kid is doing some useful work now. I barely need a housekeeper. Richard read message after message. Months of them. Brittany laughing, mocking, complaining about Lily like she was a burden, like she was some underpaid maid, never once showing affection, never once showing guilt, just casual cruelty. Richard took screenshots. All of them. Evidence. He saved everything to a USB drive, to his email, to the cloud. And then, with his hands still trembling with rage, he called someone, his sister, Claire. It was 5 a.m., but she answered on the second ring. She'd always been an early riser. Claire. Richard, what's wrong? Richard, his voice breaking. You were right. About Brittany. You were right. Claire. What did she do? Richard couldn't speak. The words were stuck in his throat. Claire, with urgency. Richard, what happened? Is Lily okay? Richard. I came home early from Tokyo. I got in at 3 a.m. I found Lily. She was doing laundry. At 3 in the morning. Her hands, Claire, her hands are a mess, and I found a notebook. Brittany has been forcing her to do this for months. Every time I travel, I have evidence, videos, messages, everything. Silence on the line. Then Claire, her voice cold and firm. Call the police. Now. Richard. I'm going to call my lawyer first. I need to do this right. Claire. I'm coming over there. I'll be there in 40 minutes. Don't confront that woman alone. Wait for me. Richard. Okay. He hung up and called his lawyer. Robert Fields, the best family lawyer in Scottsdale. Robert answered on the 4th ring, sounding half asleep. Richard, it's 5 in the morning. Richard. Robert, I need you to come to my house. Now. I'm going to divorce Brittany, and I'm pressing charges. I have evidence of child abuse. I need this to be airtight. Robert, instantly awake. Is Lily in danger right now? Richard. She's sleeping in her room. I'm with her. Brittany doesn't know I'm back. Robert. Don't wake her. Don't confront Brittany. Don't do anything until I get there. I'm on my way. 30 minutes. Richard. Okay. He hung up. He sat in his office, in the dark, waiting. At 5:35 a.m., Claire arrived. She went straight up to Lily's room. She found Richard sitting by the bed, holding his daughter's hand. Claire knelt beside him. She saw Lily's hands in the lamplight and started to cry silently. Claire whispering, Richard, how did we not see this? Richard, his voice dead. I didn't see it. I was so busy, so blind. Claire, this isn't your fault. Richard, it's completely my fault. I brought that woman into this house. I gave her access to my daughters and I left, over and over and over again. At 5:50 a.m., Robert arrived. Richard showed him everything. The notebook, the videos, the messages, the photos of Lily's hands, the wet pajamas. Robert reviewed it all, his expression growing darker and darker. Robert, this is child abuse, forced child labor, cruelty. You have solid evidence. I can have her arrested today. Richard, I want her out of this house. I want a restraining order. I want the divorce, and I want her to face criminal charges. Robert, you'll have it, all of it. I'm going to call a contact at the police department, but first we need to wake Brittany up and confront her, with the police present. Richard, I don't want Lily here when that happens. Claire, I'll take her to my place. Now. Richard nodded. Claire carefully picked up Lily. Lily woke up halfway and murmured, Aunt Claire? Claire, yes, sweetie. You're going to come stay with me for a few days. Okay? Lily, is Daddy coming too? Richard kissed her forehead. Daddy's going to come later, but stay with Aunt Claire now. Everything's going to be all right, I promise you. Lily nodded and fell back asleep in Claire's arms. Claire took her away at 6:15 a.m. At 6:30 a.m., 2 police officers arrived at the house. A woman, Officer Ramirez, and a man, Officer Torres. Robert had explained the situation to them. They'd reviewed the preliminary evidence Robert sent over. Officer Ramirez, Mr. Sterling, we're going to wake your wife and ask her some questions. You can be present, but you must remain. And calm. Do you understand? Richard, I understand. But inside, Richard didn't know if he could remain calm. They went upstairs. The 2 officers, Robert, Richard. They arrived at the master bedroom. Richard opened the door. Brittany was asleep, peaceful, oblivious to the storm that was about to break over her. Officer Ramirez approached the bed. Mrs. Smith, please wake up. Brittany stirred. She opened her eyes. She saw the officers. She saw Robert. She saw Richard. She sat, up abruptly, confused. What? Richard? What's going on? Why are the police here? Richard said nothing. He just stared at her. Officer Ramirez. Mrs. Brittany Smith, we need to ask you some questions regarding the care of Lily Sterling. Please get dressed and come downstairs to the living room. Brittany blinked. Lily? What's wrong with Lily? Is she hurt? Her performance was perfect. Maternal concern, genuine confusion. But Richard saw right through it. Richard, his voice. Cold. Get dressed. Now. Brittany looked at him, and for the first time, she saw something in Richard's eyes that made her stop. She got dressed in silence. They all went downstairs to the living room. Officer Ramirez, Mrs. Smith, can you tell us what Lily's daily routines are when Mr. Sterling is traveling? Brittany with rehearsed calm. Of course. Lily wakes up at 7. She has breakfast with her nanny. She goes to school at 8:30. She comes home at 3. She plays. She has dinner. At 6, she's in bed by 8. Officer Ramirez, does Lily do any chores around the house? Brittany, little things, picking up her toys, making her bed, age-appropriate things, to teach her responsibility. Officer Ramirez, do you wake her up during the night to do chores? Brittany with perfectly acted incredulity. What? No, of course not. Why would I do that? She's a child. Richard couldn't take it anymore. Richard, liar. Robert put a hand on his shoulder. Richard, but Richard shook him off. He took out his phone. He opened a video. Richard, this is from April 20th, 6 days ago. Security camera from the laundry room. At 3 a.m. He showed the video to the officers. On the screen, Lily doing laundry at 3 a.m. for 3 hours. Brittany's face turned white. Richard continued, pulling up another video. April 18th, same time. Another, April 15th. Another, April 10th. Another, April 5th. Another, April 1st. Richard, his voice trembling with controlled rage. I have 37 videos from the last 3 months, every time I was traveling. Lily doing laundry between 3 and 5 in the morning. Brittany tried to speak, her voice trembling. She just wanted to help, Richard. I told her it wasn't necessary, but she insisted. Richard, that's a lie. He pulled out the notebook. He showed it to the officers. Richard, this is her handwriting, her writing, Lily's homework assignments, schedules, punishments if she didn't finish on time, all documented by her. Brittany, I didn't. That's not. Richard, and this. He showed the screenshots of the text messages, the messages where Brittany mocked Lily, where she complained about her, where she admitted to waking Lily up at 2 a.m. Brittany could no longer lie. She changed tactics. Brittany, with fake tears streaming down her face. Richard, I was just trying to teach her discipline, responsibility. You're always traveling. Someone has to. Richard's voice was as cold as ice. She's 5 years old, Brittany. Brittany, I was helping my mother at her age. It's not that terrible. Richard, look at her hands. He took out his phone again. He showed the pictures of Lily's hands, red, swollen, hurt. Richard, look at what you did to her. Brittany began to cry, real tears now, but not of remorse, of fear. Brittany, Richard, please, we can work this out. I made a mistake, but we can. Richard, get out of my house. Brittany, this is my house. 2, we're married. Detective Johnson intervened. Actually, Mrs. Sterling, this house is solely owned by Mr. Sterling, acquired prior to the marriage, and I have a temporary restraining order here, signed by a judge 20 minutes ago. He handed the paper to Brittany. Detective Johnson, you are prohibited from approaching Lily Sterling, and you have until noon today to collect your personal belongings and leave this property. Brittany looked at the paper, then at Richard. Brittany, her voice filled with rage. You're overreacting. I didn't do anything terrible. I just put her to work a little. It's not abuse, it's discipline. Officer Ramirez, Mrs. Sterling, I'm going to have to ask you to come with us to the station. We have some additional questions, and we may be filing charges of child abuse and forced child labor. Brittany jumped to her feet. Arrest me. Why? I didn't do anything wrong. Officer Torres, you're not under arrest at this time, but we need your official statement. Please come with us voluntarily, or we'll have to escort you. Brittany looked at Richard one last time, searching for something. Compassion, doubt, anything. But Richard looked back at her with dead eyes. No emotion, no love, nothing. Brittany, this is ridiculous. My lawyer is going to destroy you in the divorce. I'm going to take everything. Richard, try it. Brittany left with the officers, a furious whirlwind of anger. Detective Johnson, we have a solid case, Richard. She's not going to get anything, and she'll probably face criminal charges. Are you okay? Richard nodded, but he didn't feel relief. Just emptiness. Detective Johnson, I'm going to start the divorce papers today, and I'm going to push for the DA to file charges. Are you going to be all right? Richard, no, but I will be. Detective Johnson left. Richard was alone in the house, in the living room where he had confronted Brittany, and he finally broke down. He cried. Like he hadn't cried since Sarah's death. He cried for Lily, for the pain she had suffered, for the months he hadn't seen, for his own blindness. He cried for 20 minutes, and then he got up. He washed his face, and he went to Claire's house to get his daughter. When he arrived at 9 a.m., Claire opened the door. She's awake. She's in the living room playing. Richard walked in. Lily was sitting on the floor with building blocks. When she saw him, she ran to him. "Daddy!" Richard scooped her up and hugged her tightly. Too tightly, probably, but he couldn't let her go. Richard, "Hey, princess." Lily, "Are you done with your work?" Richard, "Yes, and I'm going to take a break from work. A long break." Lily, her eyes wide with surprise. "Really?" Richard, "Really? We're going to spend a lot of time together. Is that okay?" Lily smiled. A real smile. The first Richard had seen in months. Lily, "Can I stay here with Aunt Claire for a few days?" Richard, "Of course, as long as you want." Lily, "Is Brittany coming too?" Richard tensed. He didn't know how to explain this. Richard, "No, Brittany is going to go live somewhere else. It's going to be just you and me now, like before." Lily processed this. Then she asked in a very quiet voice, "Why did she make me wash clothes?" Richard felt his heart break all over again. Richard, "I don't know, princess, but it wasn't your fault. None of this was your fault. And it's never going to happen. Again. Never." Lily, "Is she going to tell you I'm bad?" Richard, "No. And even if she did, I wouldn't believe her, because I know you're the best little girl in the world." Lily began to cry, and Richard held her as she cried. Tears she had been holding back for months. Lily cried and said between sobs, "Daddy, I was so scared that you'd leave like Mommy, and Brittany said if I told you, you'd leave." Richard, his voice broken, "No, no, my love. I'm never going to leave. Never. I promise you." He sat down with her on the couch, Lily in his lap, crying, and Richard just held her. Claire appeared with a glass of water. Lily drank. She calmed down slowly. Lily, "Are my hands going to be okay?" Richard looked at her little hands, still red, still sore. Richard, "Yes, we're going to go to the doctor, and they're going to fix them, and they're going to be okay." Lily, "I don't have to wash any more clothes." Richard, his voice firm, "Never again. You're a girl. Little girls play. They go to school. They sleep all night. That's all." Lily hugged him tightly. "I missed you, Daddy." Richard, "I missed you too. Every day." They stayed at Claire's house for 3 days. Richard didn't want Lily to return to the house until every trace of Brittany was gone. During those 3 days, Richard hired a company to remove all of Brittany's belongings from the house. Clothes, makeup, pictures, everything. Detective Johnson filed the divorce papers, citing child abuse, cruelty, and marital fraud. Brittany hired a lawyer, but she had no defense against the evidence. The district attorney filed criminal charges against Brittany, 2 counts of child abuse, 3 counts of forced child labor, 1 count of cruelty to a minor. Brittany was formally arrested on day 3. Bail was set at $200,000. Her family had to sell property to pay it. And Richard took Lily to a child psychologist specializing in trauma. Dr. Miller evaluated Lily during 2 sessions. Then she called Richard into her office. "Dr. Miller, Lily has significant psychological trauma, Richard. Anxiety, fear of abandonment, internalized guilt. She's going to need long-term therapy." Richard, "Is she going to recover?" Dr. Mendoza, "With time and support, yes, she will. She's resilient, but she needs stability, routine, and above all, she needs to know she's safe, that she won't be abandoned. Richard: I messed everything up, didn't I? Dr. Mendoza: No, Mr. Sterling. You were deceived by someone very manipulative. The important thing is that you acted when you found out. Many parents don't. You protected your daughter. Now you have to help her heal. Richard: I'll do whatever it takes. And he did. Richard took 3 months of leave from Sterling International Trading. He left his partner in charge, and he dedicated every day to Lily. New routines, healthy ones, predictable ones, waking up at 7 a.m., breakfast together, taking her to school, picking her up, playing in the park, homework together, dinner, books before bed, bedtime at 8 p.m., every single day, without fail. And slowly, very slowly, Lily began to change. In week 1, she stopped asking about Brittany. In week 2, she stopped apologizing all the time. In week 3, she began to sleep through the night without nightmares. In week 4, she laughed. Genuinely for the first time in months. By month 2, her hands were healing. The skin regenerated. The blisters disappeared. Only small scars remained. Scars that Dr. Mendoza said would likely fade with time. By month 3, Lily began to play with other kids in the park, something she had stopped doing during her time with Brittany. And Richard learned something crucial. He learned that professional success means nothing if you fail as a father. That closing a multi-million-dollar deal is empty if your daughter is suffering at home. That traveling the world is pointless if you lose what matters most. He learned that being present isn't just being physically home. It's seeing, it's listening, it's noticing when something is wrong. He learned that trusting is okay, but verifying is necessary. And he learned that never, ever, was anything more important than Lily. After 3 months, Richard went back to work, but with changes. He reduced his trips to a minimum, maybe once a month, and only for 2 or 3 days. He hired a new nanny, but this time he did extensive background checks, references, and constant supervision. He installed cameras throughout the house, not out of mistrust, but for security, and he reviewed them. He called Lily 3 times a day when he traveled, morning, afternoon, night, and he asked her specific questions. What did you have for breakfast? Who did you play with? What did the nanny do? And he listened, really listened. 6 months after the confrontation with Brittany, the divorce was finalized. Brittany received nothing. The house was Richard's. There were no shared assets. And due to the criminal charges, the judge awarded no alimony. Brittany's criminal trial began. With all the evidence, her lawyer recommended a plea bargain. Brittany pleaded guilty to 2 misdemeanor charges in exchange. For avoiding prison, she received 3 years probation, mandatory community service, and a permanent ban from working with children. She was also ordered to stay away from Richard and Lily permanently. And Richard and Lily began a new life. A life where Lily was a normal little girl, playing, learning, growing. Her hands healed completely. Her dark circles disappeared. Her weight returned to a healthy level. Her smile was real. And Richard learned to be the father Lily deserved, present, attentive, protective. 2 years later, Lily was 7 years old, happy, healthy, surrounded by love. One day, while they were having dinner together, Lily asked Richard something that took him by surprise. Lily: Dad, do you remember when you found me doing laundry that night? Richard didn't talk about it with her. Dr. Mendoza said it was best to let Lily bring it up when she was ready. Richard: Yes, honey, I remember. Lily: I thought you were going to be mad at me. Richard: Why would I be mad at you? Lily: Because Brittany always said that if you found out you'd be angry, that it would be my fault. Richard put down his fork. He took Lily's hand. Richard: Lily, look at me. Nothing that happened was your fault. Nothing. You were a child. You are a child. And adults are supposed to take care of you, not hurt you. Do you understand? Lily nodded. I know now. Doctor Mendoza tells me that... Richard, why are you asking now? Lily, because a girl at my school told me that her babysitter makes her clean a lot, and I told her she should tell her parents, but she said she's afraid they'll be mad at her. Like I was afraid. Richard felt a chill. Richard, what did you tell her? Lily, I told her that when I told my dad, he protected me, and that her parents will protect her too, and that she should tell them. Richard smiled. With pride, Richard, you did good. Very good. Lily, do you think she'll tell them? Richard, I hope so. And if she doesn't, maybe you can tell your teacher, so that an adult can help her. Lily nodded. I will. And Richard realized something beautiful. Lily had taken her trauma, her pain, her horrible experience, and she was using it to help others. She was broken, but she was healing, and in the process, she was helping other kids not break. That, Richard thought, was true resilience. That night, after tucking Lily into bed, Richard sat down in his office. He opened his laptop and wrote an email that he had been thinking about writing for months. To National Children's Advocacy Center. Subject: Donation and Program Proposal. Dear Sir, Madam, my name is Richard Sterling. I am the CEO of Sterling International Trading, and I am the father of a survivor of domestic child abuse. I would like to make a donation of $500,000 to your organization, and also propose the creation of a school awareness program about the signs of domestic child abuse. Many children suffer in silence because they are afraid to speak up, because they have been told it will be their fault, that no one will believe them, that they will cause problems. They need to know that it's okay to talk, that adults are there to protect them, and they need to know how to recognize what behaviors are not normal. I would like to fund this program and work with you to develop it. Please contact me at your earliest convenience. Sincerely, Richard Sterling. He sent the email, and he felt for the first time in 2 years that something good could come out of all the pain. The foundation responded 2 days later. They accepted the donation and wanted to meet to discuss the program. 6 months later, the Safe Voices program was launched in 20 schools across Scottsdale. He taught, in children ages 4 to 10, what abuse is, that it's not their fault, who to tell, that it's okay to ask for help, and that good adults will protect them. In the first year alone, 15 cases of domestic abuse were reported and resolved, all thanks to the program. 15 children saved. Richard thought about this every time he saw Lily sleeping peacefully in her bed, comfortable, safe, just being a kid. He would think to himself, I almost lost you, Lily. I almost let you break, but I didn't. And now we're going to make absolutely sure that other kids don't break either. And every night before going to bed, Richard would go into Lily's room. He'd watch her sleep, and he'd whisper the same words to her. I love you, Lilybug. I'm here. I'm always going to be here, and you're never going to be alone again. Lily couldn't hear him. She was sound asleep, like a 7-year-old should be at 9 p.m. But Richard said it anyway, because he needed to remind himself that this moment, this sleeping child, safe, happy, this was what mattered. Not the contracts, not the trips, not the money, not the success. Only this, his daughter, healthy, whole, loved. And Richard Sterling, CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, a man who had closed deals in 12 countries, who had built an empire from the ground up, finally understood what his greatest accomplishment was. It wasn't his company. It was being there that night at 3 a.m., when his 5-year-old daughter was scrubbing clothes with her little hands raw and bleeding, being there to see it, to stop it, to protect her. That was his greatest accomplishment. Having gotten there, just in time, and as Lily grew, as she healed, as she blossomed into a bright, strong, and compassionate young girl, Richard made sure to never forget the lesson that almost cost him everything. Success means nothing if you're not present for the people you love, and no contract, no trip, no professional achievement is worth it if you lose your family in the process. Years later, when Lily was 12, she wrote an essay in school titled, "My Hero." She wrote about her dad, about how he saved her, about how he protected her, about how he gave up everything to be with her. And at the end she wrote, "Some people think heroes wear capes and fly, but I know that real heroes come home at 3 in the morning and find you when you need them the most, and they never, ever leave you alone again. My dad is my hero." The teacher read that essay, she cried, and she submitted it to a statewide contest. Lily won first place, and when Richard went to the awards ceremony and saw Lily on the stage, smiling, happy, healthy, he knew they had won. Not just the award, but the most important battle. The battle to heal, to move forward, to turn pain into strength. And Richard promised himself, once again, as he had done every night for the past 7 years, "I'm never going to fail you again. I'm never going to be absent again. I'm never going to let anyone hurt my daughter again. I'm always going to be here, always." And he kept that promise every single day for the rest of his life. The end.